Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 24 of PW20. It's been a while. We have two brand new teams. Women's Worlds came and gone. It's already gone. Playoffs are here. They start tomorrow. But we're here. Maya, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm
I
good.
actually forgot about expansion until you just said
Yeah,
that, so.
we have two new teams. Isn't that nuts? Yeah, lots happened. It's gonna be an 8-team league, which is nuts. Very curious to see how the expansion draft goes, and yeah, a lot has happened. But for the sake of our time and trying to make it still PW20, we're kind of going to focus on these last few games right out of the women's world break, and then kind of quickly chat about playoffs. So just looking at the schedule right out of the break. So when women's worlds finished and everything, let's not talk about the finish, but
No,
when
didn't happen.
everyone came back to North America, everyone was still in it, which was like crazy. Like that was
Even New York was
nuts.
still in it. Yeah.
Even New York was still in it, which like crazy. And you kind of could say Ottawa kind of controlled their own destiny. Toronto hadn't even locked in a spot yet at the time, because they were like right on the cusp right before the break, and then I think they lost, or someone else lost that they needed them to win or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they didn't also clinch. But that didn't take long before Toronto clinched. So it was Montreal and Toronto who already clinched, but those last two spots were up for grabs. Boston comes out and gets a 3-0 win over Toronto. Ottawa comes out and gets a 3-2 win over Montreal, and you're like, whoa. And then New York gets a 2-0 win. But I think at that point,
I think that was pretty much the end.
I think they were
New
pretty
York
much done
anyway.
because of how Boston and Ottawa did, and I think they needed some help, is pretty much.
But I don't know if you were thinking this, but I was like, well, Minnesota really struggled after the break last year, and then here we are back, and they lose to the team in the bottom of the standings first game back. I was like, are we gonna have the reigning champs miss the playoffs?
They almost did it. They literally almost did the thing that they did last year, which was lose a handful of games right at the end.
Yeah.
And literally barely make it in and go into the playoffs with a losing streak. But it seemed like this year that wasn't going to be a thing because everyone else around them was a little bit better. So luckily they were able to grab a win over Ottawa, which Ottawa pretty much controlled their own destiny at that point, especially against Minnesota, because I think they even just needed a point to clinch at that point.
I think so.
And they lost 3-0.
And also, I think if they had won and Boston had won or something, then Minnesota would have been out. And they couldn't even get that done for us.
They didn't do it. They were like, no, we're actually gonna make this really dramatic.
Yeah.
And also kind of what happened in that whole entire bit of games too was CJ getting their first career PWHL start, and
friend of the show. I've always wanted to say friend of the show, so I have to say.
There you go. Friend of the site, friend of just the most wonderful person ever. Not only got their first start, but where it was unbelievable. And a big win, like shootout, and didn't let in a single shootout goal. I think it was 27 saves. So extra special shout out to Siege. Just an incredible human, and also reminding everyone how good of a goalie they are.
Yeah, just in time for expansion. Exactly.
Yeah, Siege to Vancouver. Anyway, please. That'd be sick. That'd be so cool. So that was cool. That was just such a cool moment. I feel like everyone in the world of hockey and like PWHL fans just like literally we're all just watching and seeing it all unfold and having so much fun and so thrilled for them. So shout out to Siege. And then the final day of the regular season, a triple header. Every single PWHL team is in action, and there's a lot on the line, right? Because there's still
both playoff spots were still open.
Playoff spots, and 3 teams.
Yep.
And wow, we got we we got an overtime. We got a really
Blowout?
close 1-goal game, which that game really didn't mean anything because actually it meant something for Montreal getting first seed and stuff
Sorta.
and
Yeah.
all that home ice and all that stuff. Um, but we had a massive blowout, which what a disappointment for Boston on
So
home ice.
yeah, so the first game was Toronto and Ottawa, and Ottawa won that one in overtime. So that got them in, that clinched them a spot, and because Toronto lost, they couldn't get first place overall. So that
Yep.
meant that Montreal would get first place, so they got to pick
Yep.
who they wanted to play. But yeah, so then it was literally down to the Minnesota Boston game that was happening, kind of like at the same time, to determine who would be in that last spot, and it was over pretty fast.
So quick, like
Mhm.
literally it was like 4-0 within like actually I'm gonna pull up the summary. It was like
Like within a period, less than a
oh my
period.
god, yeah, it was
Yeah.
3-0 with right away. Like and
Mhm.
then like Minnesota scores 2.5 minutes in. They score 30 seconds later, talk about a backbreaker. And then you also get the dreaded end of period power play goal from
Yeah.
Minnesota. That's just
And then Boston. Now, I had some people being like, I don't understand what happened to Frankel. And I mean, we don't know. Like, she was injured at World Championships. Maybe that's why she only played the first period. I don't know that, like, going down 3 goals is reason enough to pull, like, your literal star goaltender. But anyway,
yeah,
um,
crazy.
Peslarova came in for the second period and I think let in 3 in the second as well.
Yeah, like I'm just looking at the stats. Like, yeah, Franco had 10 shots, 3 goals. And then Clara had 15 shots and 3 against. Like, that's just,
Yeah.
that's
It was
tough.
just
But,
not
like,
good. All
I'm looking
around.
at this game sheet. So many dashes. There's so many
Yeah.
dashes. Oh my
And the
God.
goaltending summary is insane because
Susanna Tapani was a -4.
the
Yikes.
goaltending like summary is really weird too because they pulled Clara
Yeah.
and put her back in multiple times in the third period, and they're all marked as like separate times that she played in the game. So it's really
Yeah.
weird. They
I
pulled
think
her with 16 minutes to go
the
just for an
funniest
extra
tweet
attacker.
was the Frost pretty much saying like the Fleet have pulled their goalie with 16 minutes remaining in the third period. I'm gonna pull it up to get the exact wording because it was so funny.
It was.
But just to and like to do that on home ice,
Mhm.
that's brutal.
And to be clear, like what Boston actually needed out of that game was 1 point. They just
Literally,
needed to get it to overtime.
they just needed 1 point, and
Yeah.
Minnesota said, "You know what?
We're scoring
We're
8
not. We're
goals.
scoring so many goals." Okay, so here's the tweet.
Yeah.
Boston has pulled their goaltender with over 16 minutes remaining in the third.
They were just as confused as we were.
The replies are hilarious too. Someone's like, "What? Like an empty net?"
Well, I was not watching the game. I was reading the box score because I was trying to write
Mm-hmm.
the like what's going to happen now in the playoffs article, and I was like messaging the Ice Garden Slack like so it says that Clara was pulled, but it doesn't say that anybody went in. So like are they just playing with an empty net? And they were just playing with an empty
Yeah,
net and it didn't
it's
work.
over 16 minutes. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah, I think there was 4 empty netters. Um.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
Oh wait,
3.
there was only 2.
Oh. And Boston also scored during that time.
Oh my god, this is crazy. That's
Yeah.
so like again to do it on home ice too is just like man, and that barn was packed. They had a lot of
Mhm.
fans and like they were sold out. I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
brutal.
Well, Lydia did
I
say that most people stuck around
good,
even despite that, so
good,
that's good.
good. Yeah, man, that's tough. But Minnesota's back in the playoffs.
Mhm.
The reigning Walter Cup champions are back, and we have our bracket. Our bracket's
Yep.
set. So Minnesota, like we already mentioned, not Minnesota, pardon me. Montreal, like we already mentioned, got that first overall pick. They got to pick who they wanted to play, which is so dramatic. I love it.
It's so fun.
Um,
And they made it
and
extra dramatic this year because
they
they were
did.
like,
They put it on
we're
like
going to
Jocks and
announce it.
Jills, and yeah,
Yeah.
they had like an envelope and like a whole thing. It was so
It was
funny.
giving draft
Um,
lottery.
it was no, it really was, just minus the weird
Ping
draft
pong
lottery
balls.
balls. But
Yeah.
so they picked Ottawa, which I that makes sense. It's the
That's
least
what I
amount of
would have done.
travel. You're gonna take a bus. You're not gonna take a plane. Like I haven't seen the splits in terms of who's won more, but like if anything, it's probably pretty equal. If not, like Montreal's probably got the leg up there. But
Mhm.
um, which then also means we get a repeat of Minnesota Toronto,
Yeah.
which Natalie Spooner, you got to think is going to be like this team, like this in this game,
Mhm.
like against them in the playoffs last year, literally like ruined her super special
Year.
like
Yeah.
year and MVP caliber year, and then start to this year too. She hasn't really been the same. If she could
No.
probably agree. She's probably not going to be the same until next year, but you got to think she's like now's the time where
Yeah.
where I was in the hotel after that game, and like I want that, and I can't even imagine what that's like.
What is it that people are saying these days? We need to get an Etsy witch to like
And Etsy
undo the
witch,
curse on this
yes, to like
series to make sure that she
put a
doesn't get hurt.
hex on the Minnesota Frost. You know what?
Mhm.
I think they've done enough where maybe that might just happen to them. Who
Yeah. I
knows?
mean, but I do think like going back to the Ottawa choice, like we don't know what's going on with Mashmeyer, but she doesn't appear to be back. So you're
Phillips is
facing
sick.
she's doing great, but you are facing like a
Yeah,
rookie goaltender. You're
yeah,
facing a team
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
hasn't ever made the
Oh,
playoffs.
it's the definitely the
So,
choice. Like that's
yeah.
and it was the same last year with this. Well, they weren't the Scepters last year, but with Toronto picking Minnesota last
Yeah.
year, it was the same thing. It was like, hey, they just lost 5 in a row. Like,
They like
yeah,
fell in. Yeah.
we're taking them, and we're their goaltender was good, but like it
Mhm.
wasn't like crazy, and
Yeah.
um yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm really excited for Ottawa.
I
Like,
am too. I'm
I know
glad
it's
they were
only
able to do
guaranteed
it.
one game like in Ottawa, but it's one game. Like it could be more, but like I
Yeah.
know guaranteed wise, like it's only one, but like that arena, like I almost want to go. Like I want to go, but like maybe if they make it to the final, I'll go. But
Yeah.
um,
No, I
that
bet it's
energy in
going to
there
be
is gonna be
insane.
crazy.
Yeah, and it was nice to see like all the Ottawa players celebrating about it. Like one of them, I think it was Sam Isbell because she seems to have like the best TikTok presence of that whole
I
team,
think
but
Ottawa's got the best. If you were to define a whole team, it's Ottawa. They're
yeah.
really good. Yeah,
Toronto is a close second.
they're
I'm
all
going to do
really
a
good.
story on this. So I will
Can we
talk.
write it together? Can we write it
Yeah.
together? Because that's in my list of stories I want to do. I just
Okay,
haven't got to it.
we'll take this
We'll
offline.
co-write it. We'll
Yeah.
co-write it.
But she posted like something was like, "Oh, you're gonna miss the playoffs again," and it was like, "God forbid a girl like makes
Yeah,
a change or
or it
something
was
like
like
that."
yeah, it was
Yeah,
like oh, like your season's gonna be done again, like
yeah.
at the same time, and I was like, God forbid we make the
We make the
playoffs. I think
playoffs.
two of
Yeah,
them did it. I think I saw Sam's, and I think there was another player that did it too.
so
And like, oh, I'm so excited for
so
them and their
glad for them.
fans. Like,
Yeah.
and against Montreal, like that was a storyline last year with how like
Hmm.
one of the first games of the season we're like, oh, we're booing Poulin, like we're booing
Yeah.
Captain Clutch, like we're booing our savior
Yeah.
in the nation's
Literally.
capital.
Exactly.
Um,
So
it's
that
gonna
will
be a lot of
be.
fun.
It could be a very close series. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
last year we saw both the first and second seed lose in the first
Yep.
round. And honestly, like I do think Montreal has gotten like slightly better and I do expect to see them in the final round or I think like there actually will be a
Yeah.
crisis with that team. But I don't think that Minnesota and Ottawa are necessarily like out of the picture.
No.
I think any of
No.
the four
I
teams
think
could
it's
be
gonna
back.
be. I think it's gonna be a lot closer, maybe than a lot of people think. Um, and I think if Phillips is even just strong like she has been, like I think
Hmm.
that's gonna be a heck of a series.
Yeah.
Um, am intrigued to see how Montreal's depth does, because like that's kind of been an issue all season, is like, you know, their top line is obviously their top line and just goes all the time, but it seems to be some of their depth scoring that becomes an issue. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. Like I feel like especially, you know, 5 game series, like it's back in the day, back in my day, never had that in the
No,
PHF or the
exactly.
NWHL or even the CWHL. So like seeing it last year was fun, but like knowing that it's the norm, and like I think back to the Boston Montreal series where like everything went to overtime and it was like triple overtimes, like 1 a.m, and they're still going. Poor Erin Ambrose. Hopefully that doesn't
Oh
happen
yeah.
again for the sake of her.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which person it was. It was probably Kyle Cushman, because he usually is the person who comes through with these like insane
He's the
stats that
best.
you didn't realize that you needed to know. And one of them is that Ottawa and Montreal have never, in like the history of the pro leagues going back to like the CWHL, have never met in the playoffs, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what though? That would make sense because like I'm going to his profile.
I'm
He's got
looking
the best.
also.
He's got the best stuff.
Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe I gave somebody else the. Well, okay, I think it was someone else, but
That's okay. But that would make sense because like Ottawa really hasn't had.
yeah, they haven't really had the like people or the teams.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Damn, that's really cool. And also really cool tidbit, all 3 Canadian teams making the playoffs is also
Yeah.
cool.
So we're guaranteed one Canadian team in the final.
In the final, which is wasn't the case last year. So
No. So
that'll be
exciting.
cool. I'm intrigued to see, you know, if a Canadian team does win, like what the reception's going to be like and what that all looks like. Because,
Yeah. It's gonna be crazy. I hope they
yeah,
do. I feel like we deserve it, but I'm
absolutely.
biased.
Well, I'm so excited for these playoffs. Like again, I feel like each series is probably going to go to 5 because, of course, it will and all that stuff. But yeah, crazy. I think goaltending is going to play a huge role here too.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So we
I think
got
so.
tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Sorry, I keep saying tomorrow. It's not
Wednesday?
tomorrow.
Well,
It's
this might go up
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so I guess it would be tomorrow then. When we're recording this, it's in 2 days. But Wednesday, game 1, Toronto, Minnesota in Toronto. And then we got Ottawa, Montreal the following day. Um,
I'm
that's going to be so
excited.
much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still looking for this tweet. I'm not
No, you're
ignoring
good. You're
anyone.
good.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be so good, and like, it's it's just gonna be like you'll want to be locked into every single game.
100%.
You don't want to miss it.
That was
So
like last year too. That first round was nuts and like obviously a bit of a collapse for um Toronto, but you know.
mostly
Oh,
Toronto.
I found this. I had a feeling I knew who it was, but I
Okay.
didn't want to say it out loud in case it was wrong. It was Jared Book.
Of course, the other person who.
Yeah. The other one who's always bang on. He says Montreal and Ottawa never played each other in the 3 years Ottawa had a team in the CWHL. This will be their first playoff matchup between the two cities in professional women's hockey since at least. So, like, this isn't even probably confirmed. The original NWHL, which ceased operations in 2007. Oh, this is cool. This is a cool tidbit he added on. Ironically, this will be the 3rd time that Maria Philippe-Poulin and Brianne Jenner will face off in Ottawa as captains of a professional women's hockey team. The two played in the 2016 and the 2017 Clarkson Cups, held at which is now the Canadian Tire Center. The split between the two is 1-1. That's cool. That's a cool tidbit.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
cool. And they're close too, right? Like they're around the same age. Like they've been. It's gonna be fun. I think that's
and I mean, one
really
of the stats that I believe it was Chris Sinclair, who covers the Charge, had in the last game. Ottawa is 13-0 when Jenner scores in a game.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
so
That's crazy.
if she
Whoa,
shows
if
up,
she scores,
then
it's game over.
yeah,
Thanks for coming. Like,
yeah, crazy.
that's wild. Damn. Well, I'm excited. Also, look at us keeping this actually at 20 minutes. This is
I know.
impressive.
Look at that. But we should say Boston, rip, New York, rip. Although New York does get something out of not making the playoffs,
Yeah,
which is
they're gonna get the first overall
overall
pick.
pick. Yeah.
Which there's a few players it could be. We also don't know who's officially declaring.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And we
that
also
they
don't know anything about like the actual expansion draft, if
no.
it will follow the same rules that the NHL and other leagues
Yeah, we have
use
nothing
or
yet.
not.
So
So
hopefully
who
we'll get
knows?
that soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do an episode just on expansion once we get that information. Maybe you and I will kind of chat about how we feel about the markets. I'm sure you're stoked.
I
Well,
am.
yes and no.
I wish it was like closer. Like I'm kind of
Yeah,
like it's still far from me and everyone keeps being like,
yeah.
"Do you know anyone
Canada's
who can cover
massive.
this?" And I'm like,
Canada's massive, man.
"Yeah." So, I don't know, maybe I need to move to Vancouver. I have until like probably November to figure that out. So,
There's a bunch of jobs available now there and for the new team.
if anyone's listening,
Ooh, anybody out there? Hello. But yeah,
yeah.
lots going on in the league. But right now the focus is playoffs, which is so exciting.
Mhm.
But thank you all so much for listening and watching. Sorry it's been a while. Life has been crazy. But texted Maya this morning. I was like, "Yo, let's try and get a recording in here." I totally thought game one was tomorrow too. My brain is just all over the place this week. But I'm kind of glad I did because then we don't have to worry too much, and I can
Yeah.
get this up as we go. But we
I'm going to
appreciate
the
you all.
movies tomorrow night, so
Oh, what are you seeing? What movie are you
Thunderbolt.
seeing? Ooh, you gotta let me know how it is. I
I
really
will.
want to see it. I've heard some good things, and
I'm
I
excited.
used to be a big Marvel gal,
Me
but
too.
kind of kind of haven't been recently. And I'd like to get that Marvel love back
Oh
again
yeah.
because it's been
I'll
a
let you
while.
know.
But let me know how it goes. But if you're stuck around this long, and if you aren't already, or you want to consider it, maybe please consider AP subscription to the Ice Garden. It helps us do some really fun things. Helps us go to takeover games. Might help us go to new team games or whatever. Go to the draft. Who knows where we'll end up because of it. And it's really well appreciative. So thank you so much, and take care, and have fun with playoff hockey.